Join me in welcoming to the stage the candidates for the Twinsburg City School Board of Education, Matt Salura, Mark Curtis, and Adrienne Gordon. Matt Salura, you may begin your opening remarks whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Kidd. Thank you, Twinsburg Council PTA. Thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for this evening's forum. My name is Matt Salura, and I'm humbly seeking re-election to the Twinsburg City School District Board of Education. I've lived in the district for almost 14 years. My wife Gretchen and I own and operate a local business. Our 3 children have attended Twinsburg City Schools since kindergarten. In addition, currently serving on the Board of Education, I'm also on the Twinsburg Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, and I'm one of 2 business representatives on the Twinsburg Community Improvement Corporation. Over the past 4 years, I've served on the Finance, Buildings and Grounds, and Policy subcommittees, as well as both President and Vice President on the Board of Education. I've crafted and successfully negotiated with the City of Twinsburg a fair and equitable revenue sharing agreement for tax-abated properties. This agreement simplified the previous agreement's funding formula, gave the district a seat at the table for future abatements, and provided a fair sharing of added income and taxes, and helps the city attract more business. I've been part of a successful renewal and new money levy campaigns to ensure the financial stability of our district for our current and future students, while adding new technology, instructional programs, and enhancing the quality of education that we provide our students. I've continued to advocate for our students both locally and with leaders in Columbus, and ensure that money spent has direct impact on classroom learning. I've been proud to support the expansion of our beach book services, the Chromebook initiative, the blended learning pilot program, the creation and expansion of maker spaces, and the implementation of our new kindergarten preparatory program. I've collaborated with my colleagues and administration strategically, working on and planning for our future facilities needs. This includes utilizing our updated facilities assessment to address high priority needs through our permanent improvement budget, and engaging the community over the past 2 years on future building projects that will ensure the success of our students for years to come. As part of planning for our future over the past 3 years, I've also actively assisted in the process and creation and soon-to-be implementation of our new strategic operating plan. This plan has involved thousands of hours of community engagement through meetings, forums, surveys, discussions, and encompasses facilities, safety, communication, academics, finances, and culture and climate. This plan, once adopted, will become a long-term guide for our district, and I'm proud to have been an integral part of its
Next, from Mark Curtis.
Good evening, and thank you, Mary. Thank you, the Twinsburg Chamber of Commerce, for this opportunity to engage our residents to learn more about what we plan to do. My name is Mark Curtis. I am 51 years old, and I have a bachelor's degree from Otterbein University and a master's degree from Hiram College. My family moved to Twinsburg 16 years ago, and we've got a son who's currently a junior in high school, and we have a daughter that graduated in 2012, and she's pretty successful as a registered nurse currently. I've been in education for over 25 years, and I'm currently working in a public school district as we speak. I've served 6 combined years on the boards of education for the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, as well as the Twinsburg City Schools Board of Education. And I've served as president and vice president of both boards during that time. I also serve as the board's legislative liaison. I am a member of the Ohio School Boards Association. I also serve on the Ohio School Boards Association Black Caucus, and I was selected to serve on the OSBA newly created Diversity and Equity Committee. We're responsible for driving policy across the state of Ohio for all districts in this realm. I also serve as an advisory, serve on the advisory board for the Kent State's Rising Scholars Program, and this is a program that will provide opportunities for our students to attend Kent State University tuition free. I'm also a member of the Ohio and National Education Policy Fellowship Program through Kent State University. And I also serve as a member, I've served as a member of the, on the Ohio Department of Education School Improvement Team, as well as the Ohio Leadership Advisory Council, where we work with districts in school improvement strategies. Throughout my 4 years on Twinsburg City Schools, I've learned a lot about board dynamics, and that it requires respect, collaboration, and consideration from all. Nothing gets accomplished by one person alone. In my role on the board, I could not have accomplished anything without the support of my colleagues, and I value their perspective and hope to continue building consensus as we move forward in this next phase of Twinsburg City Schools. And I'm hoping for your support on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear opening remarks from Adrienne Gordon.
Thank you. Thank you again also for the forum today to speak. To introduce myself, I'm a mom of 2 kids in the district, so Dominic is a senior, Dakota's a sophomore. From an education standpoint, I have a degree in biomedical engineering, so I understand STEM. I have an MBA in marketing, so I understand communications. I have postgraduate studies in both economics and finance, so I understand fiscal responsibility in a deep way. From a professional standpoint, I own a management consulting firm called Pricing Empowered. We serve mid to large organizations both across the United States and across the globe. As parents of both special needs and gifted students in the district, my husband and I found out pretty early on in the education process that, well, without strong parent advocates, some kids actually do get left behind. And we also realized that if we were going to give our children everything they needed to succeed, we were going to have to figure out how to live a life sort of out of the box. And so we did. We both quit our jobs and we started a business so that we could have a flexible schedule, so that we could make therapy appointments and enrichment opportunities and advocate for our children. And over the next decade, I found that I wasn't just advocating for my own kids, I was advocating for all kids. And so education advocacy became part of my story. My opponents will discuss the boards they've sat on, the committees they've participated in, the conferences they've attended. My story in education, it's a lot more quiet. It's in hundreds of phone calls with frustrated parents, getting them ready for a 504 IEP meeting, sometimes as a coach, sometimes as a therapist. It's been in reading tens of thousands of pages of education law to prepare for a 15-minute conversation with a legislator in Columbus, or to write a parent testimony, or to meet with a think tank to get a couple sentences of data privacy language into a bipartisan bill. It's been meeting with NASA and VA volunteers to build a STEM program that will be used for students in Northeast Ohio for years to come. These activities are not my resume, they don't give me clients. They're based on my passion for education and my advocacy for children. So don't take this to mean that I am confusing activities with results. I don't, and I won't. I'm a results-based oriented person. I understand that results come from setting measurable goals, holding yourself accountable to them, and then smashing through those goals. I've worked with over 200 organizations throughout my career. I have a consistent history of helping organizations improve their results, both in the value they create as well as their financial position. So I know a lot of you don't know me. My education role has been real, so I hope that my endorsements from some members on City Council, Township Trustee, a State Board of Education member, the Ohio Schools Public Relations Board, as well as the Matriots PAC, which we have some representation here tonight, build you some confidence that I am ready to advance the Twinsburg School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 1, Mark Curtis, you will have the first response. What is your own experience with public education, and what strengths would you bring to the board table?
Thank you. As I've mentioned previously, I've been in education for over 25 years, and 13 of those years have been in public education, and I'm currently employed with a local school district as a member of their administrative team. Last 6 years of combined experience serving on the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center Board of Education and Twinsburg Board of Education as part of my experience as well. And as I've said before, I've served as president and vice president on both of those boards respectively. And I also, as I've said, I'm the board's legislative liaison, where I've had an opportunity to engage our elected officials in Columbus and Washington. I've traveled to Columbus numerous times. I've traveled to Washington, D.C. 3 times. And locally, especially in Columbus, I've been very proud of the work that I've been able to accomplish in working with Christina Rogner in drafting and passing legislation that helps getting funds returned to our districts from charter schools that have had a finding of recovery. I've also worked extensively with the Ohio Department of Education as a member of their Leadership Advisory Council and also for school improvement. And I feel that my presence on the board brings perspective on current instructional practices and better understanding of what our teachers experience on a daily basis. I've been able to work with my colleagues in building consensus and collaborating to do what's in the best interest of our kids. And if reelected, I want to continue doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Gordon, what is your own experience with public education and what strengths would you bring to the board table?
So both my husband and I are products of public education. It clearly served us okay. We're doing all right in life. We both come from large families, and so we have 15 nieces and nephews across the United States. All but 2 are products of public education. And that's really cool because we've been able to watch the experiences that they've had in districts, not in Twinsburg, but across the United States. And there's some really cool opportunities that we've watched them go through. I'm mindful of Magnet School in Fairfax, Virginia. My niece and nephew participated in that, had just amazing opportunities. Free college to my niece and nephew that are in Georgia right now. My niece that's in Massachusetts had tons of international experience from travel from her high school. So some really cool experiences out there. From a personal standpoint, we've had some issues, right? And I wouldn't be here if our story for public education with our children was 100% perfect. My son is gifted and autistic, and at times the Twinsburg School District did struggle a little bit to serve him. We personally have dealt with bullying, and we've also had to fight just to get some basic accommodations for him. This is not a statement of the staff of the public schools here. It's not a statement of public education in general. It's a statement on resource processes and priorities. This is a good thing. You don't want a board that says the public education in Twinsburg is as good as it's gonna get. And you don't want a board that's gonna say every kid's having the equally awesome experience in their public education. Childhood is messy, and you need somebody that understands that. So what do I bring to the board? I bring 2 things. The willingness to get in a car and benchmark. I've already done it. I've driven around to some of the districts that are outperforming us, and I'm finding out what they're doing that we probably should bring back here. And 2 is empathy. I have strong empathy that child is messy, and I can advocate for the kids. I also bring a continuous improvement mindset to the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Salura, what is your own experience with public education and what strengths would you bring to the board table?
So as I said, I've got 3 children in the district. I got a freshman, a 6th grader, and a 3rd grader, all been here since kindergarten, all on different varying paths and each with their own successes and struggles. I think, when we moved here 14 years ago, we decided that we wanted to live in a community that had a strong school system, and that's why we chose here. It was important for myself to be involved and give back to the community. So prior even to being on the board, being elected, I wanted to make sure that I injected myself into the school district and gained the knowledge and offered some help. Learned how things were done, learned what was good, learned where things could be improved. I think my record in working with my colleagues for the past 4 years and the things that we've accomplished to better the education that we deliver to our students in this district speaks for itself. We've brought new programs. We've brought a kindergarten preparatory program so that we can reach the students that are struggling sooner. Diverting dollars that we've spent previously, at later ages, and giving those dollars sooner. Spending those dollars sooner on children so we could reach them, so that we could further improve the success of their academic careers. I think from a financial standpoint, being a business owner, dealing with some issues in the private sector and being able to bring those over to the public and supporting not only the students, supporting the staff, giving them resources, prioritizing where dollars need to be spent so that those dollars have a direct impact on the classroom, allowing our teachers to do their jobs and giving them what they need so that they're successful and that our students are successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 2, Adrian Gordon, you will have the first response. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing our public schools right now, and what is your plan to address it?
So the biggest challenge I think facing our schools is really just keeping up with the pace of change in society right now. There's 4 areas that I'm really mindful of. Number one, specifically for our district, we are being outpaced by the neighboring districts around us, and we can come up with a million reasons on why they're performing at higher levels than us, but at the end of the day, that's eventually going to become an issue. From a global standpoint, I personally think that there's a significant risk for an economic downturn in the next 4 years. I do think that we're going to be looking at a recession. The Ohio Department of Education continually is giving changing expectations and litany of menu changes and demands, and we have a lot of room to improve on our ability to keep up with that pace. And finally, technology is moving at a rate that is mind-blowing. The most important activity for any organization that's in a very dynamic and uncertain environment, it's a robust planning process. While the current board was talking about working on this strategic plan that we have not seen yet, we've been operating without one for the last 8 years. So the foundation to pivot when there is some unexpected event, it's not there right now. And so not only is the strategic plan the most important document and foundation for organizations to be able to manage uncertainty, the assumptions that go in it are also just as important. The board needs to be modeling out best case, worst case, likely case scenarios, assuming that there may be changing economic positions. They need to be predicting those changes from the ODE before they happen, not after. We have early indicators in ESSA language that should tell us that. And we need to be mindful that ed tech is pushing us to this idea of a flexible education environment, sort of like an flexible work environment. Strategic planning, goal setting, predictive modeling, financial modeling, these are all things I do on a daily basis. It's part of my expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Stallura, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing our public schools right now, and what is your plan to address it?
Funding is always a challenge for districts, given the state removal of some dollars through the tangible personal property tax, continually imposing unfunded mandates on the districts across the state, and quite honestly, an unfair funding formula that has had some potential changes coming forward. Hoping for more, but still the district has to operate day to day and do the best that we can for our children. Contrary to popular belief, we've actually done financial forecasts. We've updated those forecasts. We've run models. Our district is financially solvent. In 2013, when we were asked, came to the community for a levy, we promised that we wouldn't be back in 5 years, and we weren't. We successfully, reached out to the community. We gathered their input as to what was the best options for the district. What did they want to see? What would this community support? We engaged the community. We got feedback. We took that plan and we funded that plan, and we passed a levy to continue so that our district would be financially solvent. We would be able to educate not only our children, your children, but future children in the district. We've done that. We're currently working on a strategic plan. In coming together with that, we've reached out again to the community. It's been a process for 2 years. In that time, we've acted on and had plans for the district with goals, measurable goals that we've voted on, we've approved, we've worked through. We are doing those things. The other problem that the district is going to face is our building. Our buildings, our assessments, possible new buildings, demolition of old buildings. Again, these are plans that we've been working on for 2 and 3 years, engaging the community and rolling out. We will not do anything without support of the community, and that's why it's a long process. That's why we're doing these things, and we're ensuring that the success of our children comes first. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Curtis, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing our public schools right now, and what is your plan to address it?
Thank you. There are actually multiple challenges. I would agree with my colleague in that one of the biggest challenges is, basically how we're funded. The current system of funding that we're operating on has been ruled unconstitutional multiple times by the Ohio Supreme Court. Believe it or not, the last date in which that ruling was made was 20 years ago. So, we have 3 mechanisms in which districts are funded. We have a cap, we have a guarantee, and we have a formula. Twinsburg is currently under the cap. And just to give you an example, if we were to get 1,000 more students in this district, we wouldn't receive any more money over and above what the state allows us with respect to a cap. Additionally, let's say the per pupil allotment funding for ODE is $7,000 per kid. Currently, Twinsburg gets a little bit over $1,000 per kid. Guess where the rest of that money comes from? You, the residents. The Ohio Supreme Court ruled the system unconstitutional because it was too heavily reliant on local property taxes. The most recent piece of legislation that has come up as a standalone bill is House Bill 305, and we're working to change that on the legislative front. Our accountability system is also broken. It places too much emphasis on standardized tests as a means of measuring student achievement, and the current system is not what drives instruction. It's a snapshot over a year's time. To put it with what Diane Ravitch has said, is a renowned educator, is that tests are a tool, not a goal. We should use them as needed, not let them use us. I strongly believe in the work that our teachers do. They know what they do. We should continue to use formative assessments as a way to drive student achievement and continue to have high expectations for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3, Matt Salura, you will have the first response. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing the students in our district? How would you propose to deal with those challenges?
In today's education world, there are so many external factors that impact a student's ability to receive a good quality education. As part of a forward-thinking district, which I honestly believe we are, myself, my colleagues, the administration, have continued to focus on the whole child and knowing each child's story. In fact, if you look at some of the upcoming Ohio Department of Education guidelines, they're now starting to use whole child terminology. That's something we've been doing for years because we've realized the issues that students face in attaining an education. We actually recently approved and hired a new position in the district to address student wellness, to make sure that we're addressing the whole child, to make sure that we are attacking as many of those outside factors as possible when those children are in our buildings so that we can give them the best education possible. Through PBIS initiatives, diversity training, our extensive contract with Beachbrook and the expansion of that contract, counselors, knowing the whole child's story, that's what we're doing. That's what this board, that's what this district, that's what this administration is doing for our students, realizing the difficulty of growing up in the 21st century, and trying to address those things. I think it is tough to be a child now as the father of 3. I see what they go through every day. I hear teachers tell us what these kids are going through every day, and that's important for us to address that. So I think there's multiple issues that children deal with, and until you know each child's story, and until you fully commit to addressing as many of those external factors that the district has no control over as possible, until you do that, you're not able to educate that child and educate that child to the fullest extent that you can. And that's something that I've committed to, my colleagues, are committed to, and we've been doing for years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Curtis, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing the students in our district, and how would you propose to deal with those challenges?
Well, I would agree with Mrs. Gordon with respect to the pace in which change is happening in today's society. The good thing is that our students are the ones that actually understand the technology and things that are moving very fast. It's we adults that tend to have a learning curve that tends to be very steep for some of us. I'm in education. I've worked with kids throughout my entire career, so I feel like I have my finger on the pulse of what's happening and some of the things that bother them. I continue to harp on the fact that the pressures of test taking are real. I think that we place too much emphasis, and it doesn't allow our teachers to really focus on the things that they do best, which is instruction. It doesn't allow them to spend as much time as they need differentiating and teaching to how students learn as opposed to what's mandated for passing a test. So the other thing is that, in this day and age, safety is a real concern. We have mass shootings going on almost daily, it seems, and so we have to be cognizant of that. We work extremely well with our local safety forces. We make sure that we get out there and we do simulations and make sure that we're prepared If in the event something happens, we want to make sure that our students are in an environment that they feel safe, that they can learn, and that they can be all that they can be. Let's face it, I mean, our young ones, we're actually providing instruction and we're preparing them for jobs that don't currently exist. Think about that. We're preparing them for jobs that do not currently exist. It's a tall order, and I think as an educator for as long as I've been and the amount of years that I've served on this board, I want to continue doing that, and I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Gordon, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing the students in our district, and how would you propose to deal with those challenges?
So I totally agree with Mr. Curtis on this. To prepare for the forum, I went to the source and I asked kids. I said, what's your biggest challenge? I'm not gonna make assumptions on this. The response actually was pretty unanimous that we, and you may agree or not, as parents and of this generation, have allowed them to be put in this constant state of fight or flight. So the anxiety levels right now are extremely high no matter where they're coming from. So I'm with you, Mr. Curtis. I think that the source of this is we've allowed this culture of constant testing. And if you think about it, if you were constantly being judged every minute of your day, you'd have some anxiety too. So that's one issue. And I think the other is we are not allowing them to decompress from technology. They are hooked in 100% of the time. I see two paths to supporting them through this. The first is recognizing that Ohio still is a local control state. So while we have some mandates through ESSA and the Ohio Revised Code that require some level of testing, we have some influence on the culture and how much we allow it to permeate outside of that. So I personally would also want to minimize the testing culture and maximize on-hands learning. The second is around the constant connection. We have to let our kids have access to extracurriculars so that they're not going home after school and sitting on their phones and sitting on the Xbox all the time and dealing with the stress that comes from that. Access to extracurriculars means sports, it means being creative, it means experiential learning as well. And if that means minimizing the constraints that come from pay to play, I do support that. I also think that making sure that they have access to extracurriculars, it doesn't just reduce stress levels, which is so critical, it also improves social networks. When we have so many two-parent working families right now, that is so important for kids right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4, Mark Curtis, you will have the first response. If elected, what are your top priorities that you would bring to the board table for our school district in the coming year?
Well, one of the things that we're working on right now, obviously, is a new strategic plan. And although we've always had district goals within continuous improvement plans that are aligned to the district's improvement plan, we want to continue to expand on that. Under the previous cycle, all of the buildings had their own individual continuous improvement plans that changed every year based on progress that we're making or lack thereof, identifying areas of weakness. And so they would report out to the board on a quarterly basis. This is something that we've kind of moved to in the last year or so that we can be kept abreast of how things are going and how they're monitoring the progress and how they're adapting to the things that they need to do. With respect to the comprehensive continuous improvement plan, it is out there. We've had a number of work sessions that are open to the public where the work groups have been able to report out on their progress. The areas are 6 areas, and there's climate and culture, safety, facilities, communication, 21st century teaching and learning, communication, and financial. Each area has individual goals and strategies, barriers and action steps that are measurable, and all have a cost-benefit analysis for feasibility. We've just completed discussions, as I've mentioned, and we're about to get some more feedback so that we can actually implement this and use this as a working document moving forward to help in our decision making. Additionally, within that plan is our draft conceptual legacy project, where we're going to be looking to engage the community, and the feedback is critical if it's going to help drive our decision making moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Gordon, if elected, what are your top priorities that you would bring to the board table for our school district in the coming year?
Thank you. So this one's an easy one for me. So if the Department of Education is changing expectations annually or faster than annually, and it's taking us 8 years to do a strategic plan and 3 years to do a communication plan, Common Core math is not going to solve that. I kid. So basically, we need to get the processes in place to move a lot faster. It's just the expectation that's coming at us right now. My first year, I would be focused in a couple areas. Re-engaging the community in two-way conversations, healthy two-way conversations. I know I'm hearing that that's what's supposedly happening. I'm hearing from the public they're not feeling it. Empowering staff and students. And what I mean by that is making sure that the staff has the resources and processes in place so that they can do their jobs and succeed in a nurturing culture and climate. We need to ensure that students have access to the resources they need and the curriculum that they want so that they can pursue their passions, whether that's competitive STEAM opportunities, vocation opportunities while you're on an IP or without an IEP, and securing talented coaching staff for our athletes. And finally, defining exceptional to our district and doing goal setting that absolutely can drive us there. For most people who work for large corporations today, the acronym SMART means something to them. It means that goals need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And that's how you're accountable, and that's how you have the foundation for breakthrough performance. If you look at our district goals right now, they do not fit those 5 criteria. It's critical for us if we want to move to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. Metzelura, if elected, what are your top priorities that you would bring to the board table for our school district in the coming year?
Our conceptual building project is a big priority and very important for me. It's something that I've pushed for a long time. To have this board come up with a plan. While that means we don't break ground tomorrow, it means that we're able to come to the community and give them a date, a specific time, a specific plan. I apologize that it's taken quite a long time to do that. And some people may view as inaction. I view as making sure that we're doing the best that we can. When we're talking about spending 20, 30, 40, $50 million, it's not something that I want to do and make a decision on my own. I want to make sure that we're engaging as many community members as we can. I want to make sure that we're looking at all of our buildings and we're digging deep into our buildings and we're seeing not only what is in front of our face, but what's behind those walls. What are some issues that we're going to come up with? I want to make sure that we're building buildings that are going to fit the students not only today, but the students in the future. So all of that includes and means that we're doing multiple studies. We're doing new assessments of our facilities. We are doing new census and capacity of our districts to see what the future residents may look like and what the future attendance at the schools may be. So that's a big thing for me. It's been something that this district has talked about for years. It's very important to me. My colleagues will attest to it that we come up with a plan and that we stick to that plan, and it's something that the community supports. On top of that, I want to continue to increase these initiatives that we've enacted over the past 4 years. I want to continue growing our makerspace program. If you haven't been to the schools, it's a great thing. I want to continue our blended learning initiative, and I want to continue supporting our students in every way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5, Adrian Gordon, you will have the first response. Are you an active member of the Twinsburg PTAs? How have you supported the PTA in the past?
So if you look at my endorsements or you talk to people in the community, first thanks for the question and a forum to talk about something I'm passionate about. You will hear that I am a service-oriented person. And as part of service, I believe that if you are in the position where you are able to give back, either financially or through time, and I am blessed to do that today, that you have an ethical obligation to do it in areas you're going to create the most value and have the most direct and largest impact. And so over the years, as my husband and I have found us in this position, we've been able to make a direct impact on the district through donation to the Bissell Library, through donation of equipment to the the physical education department, and through many donations to the autism community. Recently, my husband was able to work with a couple other people in the audience to build a crowd fundraising structure on a social media platform. This actually generates money. It's a Monday give back. All the money that's donated goes 100% to families in the district that have some kind of catastrophic, unexpected event. So I'm really proud of the work he's doing, and I support him on identifying those causes and managing that. But my personal focus right now, and I apologize that it's not the PTA, it's a great run organization, but it's where I consider that I can have the most value and the most impact. Two demographics that I really am focused on. The employability statistics for people on the autism spectrum are abysmal. 2% of the population will be identified autistic, and 90% will be unemployed or underemployed. 1 in 9 girls will still be married by the age of 15. These two demographics are not living independent, happy, healthy lives. And so my energy and time and money are going to nonprofits that are focused in those areas, because if I can affect them, I've affected 7% of the world's population. So I think the PTA does a great job. I can't create a ton of value to bring them from where they are to the next, and that's why I'm not currently as engaged there as I am in the very areas that I have most passion right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Salura, are you an active member of the Twinsburg PTAs, and how have you supported the PTA in the past?
So I am not. My wife is a member of 3 PTA organizations throughout the district. She's a paying member, I am not. She currently sits on the chair for the Bissell Veterans Day program. I appreciate everything the PTA does. There's so much that gets done in this district that would not be able to be done without the support of each of our building PTAs and our council PTAs. So I want to thank them for that. While I'm not a member of the PTA, as somebody who takes advantage of some of the events that they do, I feel it important to return that volunteer time. I have volunteered at every mother-son event that Dodge has held for the past 6 years. I volunteer at the holiday shop, various PTA-sponsored parties as well. It's important to me as a business owner in the community to give back, when we can, when we're blessed to be able to do so. So on top of the different community organizations that we do, we continually, and have so for years, funded and supported various fundraisers that the PTA has done. Math Mania, Readathons, Fall Fest, Father-Daughter, Mother-Son, you name it. Joanne can attest to it. Super phone call, and we will be there supporting it because it's a great organization. So I thank them for everything they do, and we'll continue to support them as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Curtis, are you an active member of the Twinsburg PTAs, and how have you supported the PTA in the past?
Thanks. I'm not currently a member, an active member of the PTA, although we used to be active, pretty much up until I think last year. But our kids are a little older now, so we're not as involved in the PTA. However, as a parent and a board member, I fully support the PTA and encourage parents as I engage them and talk to them throughout my 4 years to become more involved in using PTA and as a mechanism to getting that done. It's an excellent way for parents to impact their child's learning, and it's a good way to provide feedback to the administration about what's needed. It takes a village, and I think that parents that are actively involved in their child's education is something that is proven. Research has said that parents that are engaged in child's learning actually does impact student achievement. So with that being said, I do a lot to help out with what's going on in the district. Actually, for the last few years, gone to Wilcox and read to the little ones. You read a book and you tell a story. You answer questions, and you get to listen to what their hopes and dreams are. And that's something that I look forward to continue doing, and also supporting other initiatives that are sponsored by the PTA. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 6, Matt Salura, you will have the first response. What is your vision for education in our community?
So Twinsburg gets compared, and I continually hear, our neighbors, what we get compared to. Twinsburg's a unique community. We're not Solon, we're not Chagrin Falls, we're not Hudson. We're neither of those communities racially, ethnically, economically, or socially. We're Twinsburg. My vision for education in this community is to support our students, support our staff. continue to grow the programs that we've grown, in the past 6, 7, 8 years, 4 years. I see our Twinsburg Academy offering those real-world abilities for our students, for our high school students, to see what they may want to do in the future. We're not pushing them in one direction or another. We're giving them opportunities that, most kids don't have. We had kids working on $1 million machines at a Hoosier this summer. That's not something that happens in every community. It's a great program that we have. My vision is continuing to better ourselves and do deep digging into the data to see where we can improve. I'm not going to sit up here and say that we're at the best that we can be, because I don't think you're ever at the best you can be. If you're not smart enough to realize that there's room for improvement, then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And we have continually done that. We've continually seen where we can improve and stepped forward and given the resources to be able to do that. Whether it be the blended learning program, which was an initiative brought on by the teachers, supported by the teachers, and brought to us with such vigor and research and data-based presentations that it was something that we had to support. And I can tell you the teachers love it, the kids are loving it. Initiatives like that, the kindergarten preparatory program, those are things that where I see our education and where we're going to be Twinsburg, to continue to be Twinsburg, because we're unique, and that's what I want to keep doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Curtis, what is your vision for education in our community?
Thank you. My vision for education in our community is for Twinsburg to continue to excel academically, culturally, and financially. This requires collaborating with everyone that's involved in education, the education of our children. I believe that children today deserve a 21st century learning environment. I also believe that our staff deserve to be in buildings that are conducive to delivering 21st century learning. We've transformed our classrooms into flexible learning spaces, and we're well on our way to doing more. Over the last 4 years, we've continually received feedback and have been able to implement teacher-led initiatives that are bearing results every day. Our technology integration has been smooth thus far, but we must continue to stay ahead of the curve and allowing the technology to serve as a tool, while also understanding that the design of the activity and the lesson planning is what's really most important. I want to continue to support our teachers and our administrators in their growth and development as educators. We've continued to do this by investing in professional development and seeking their feedback in continuing to expand our curriculum offerings. I want our children to be well-rounded, critical thinking individuals who have the tools to make a difference in today's society. Successful schools and strong communities are inextricably linked. It's why people move here, and it's why Twinsburg remains a place where people can be proud of and really proud of the things that we do as a district. Look, I'm an educator, and when people say that we don't have high expectations for our students, when people say that we are being outperformed, I take that personally. I want to make sure that I continue to provide the very best for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrienne Gordon, what is your vision for education in our community?
So professionally, I am known as an expert in value realization. And what that means is I work with organizations to help them identify whatever it is that's keeping them from achieving their true value potential. There's a reason why my tiny 2-person company gets phone calls from multi-billion-dollar organizations across the globe. I serve as a strategic advisor for boards, and I have in the past, and I currently do, to help them understand how to do that. So I understand what it takes to have human resource management processes in place to drive peak performance with professionals. I understand accountability systems to drive achievement in a safe and a nurturing environment, and I know what that looks like, not just for entry-level people, but also for CEOs. My vision for this district is to get a little out of our comfort zone. I honestly think we can be extremely better than we are today. I think we can be exceptional, and I think that we want to be exceptional. So my vision is for us to become an outlier district that other districts come to study. I have a very unique skill set that helps drive organizations to do that. And what I can tell you right now is if we continue using incremental goals every year, that won't happen. We need to have a vision for achievement that's at a much higher level. So for that reason, I hope that you consider voting for me on November 5th and have some confidence that I can advance the Twinsburg schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt Salura, Mark Curtis, and Adrian Gordon.
Thank you.